Good evening and welcome to the Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we have Scooter. How are you, Scooter?
Good. How are you?
Good. Scooter is the singer for Cold, and you guys have been out for quite a while now.
Like 12 we got together with 12. I used to skateboard by his house, and he was playing drums. I played guitar, and I Will Follow by U2. And yeah, we started jamming together, and that happened in Grundig. We named the band Grundig, and we had a big following in Florida. And yeah, we've been playing since I was 12 years old. I've been in bands, and we had changed bands throughout our childhood, teens, but it always came back to Grundig, and then that turned into Cold. Right before. Yeah, the funny thing about that is I went to see Limp Bizkit last night because they played in Kansas City, and I hadn't seen Fred in a long time. I'd seen John and Sam in the last few years, but not Fred or Wes. And they invited us to the show, so we went there and hung out with them all night. It was a great time. And I was talking to Fred. I don't think Wes even remembers this, but me and Ross Robinson and Howie Weinberg were in mastering in New York. We're at his place, and our lawyer called, and he said, man, Grundig, the company, the German stereo company, called their electronics company over there. Were quite huge. They called and said that you're not allowed to use the name Grundig unless you basically give them $250,000 to buy some licensing from it. We had just got our first record deal. We had just got a little bit of pocket change in us, so there was no way that was happening. So we were all, everybody was scrambling, and Wes just happened to call Ross at the studio. And he said, he goes, dude, why don't they call it Cold? And I go, well, that sounds kind of perfect for the vibe of everything. He goes, no, it's funny, man, because, you're from Florida. I go, and that's a very West thing to say. However, it fit perfectly. And our lawyer called back within 5 minutes and said, because I can't believe that name's clear, but yeah, we did. So
that's crazy.
It's created. Yeah.
That's a good name though, too. It is.
Yeah, it works. It works.
Looking back, you would have won that. You probably would have won the lawsuit though, too, because they're not even in the U.S.
Probably.
It would have cost you lawyers though. If you were a little deeper in, you could have,
It was such a fast thing because we were in mastering right then, and we were already late with that. So they were pushing the record at a certain date. So I think we only had like 60 days for the record to come out. So I don't know if they wanted to get litigious with all that.
I think it's better though. I mean, everyone knows the word cold. Yeah. It's like built-in advertisement. Things that have the label cold on it, hot, cold, just for free advertisement.
It's very cool. And the Grundig thing kind of is still relevant because, our old school hardcore fans all know Grundig. We did a thing, Cold Live, in 2014, where we did a night before where we just played Grundig songs, basically. So that was pretty fun. It was cool.
That's cool. So what's also interesting is you guys have been together for a long time, and you broke up for a little bit and had a break, but got back together. But the one thing that's really interesting to me is I never thought of you guys as a grunge band. You guys are not really a grunge band. You've gotten probably more labels than I've heard from any band ever. What kind of music you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We initially started off, definitely Alice in Chains and the Seattle scene. I think when we were sitting at my house one day and we watched the Louder Than Love Soundgarden concert. Yeah. And it was slow and grungy and Grundig was more that kind of music. It was very slow and just, drop key, and it was all very Seattle. So we were just happy that somebody else connected with something that we were doing at the time across the country, because we were in Florida and that was a Seattle sound. So we were kind of excited about that. We were like, well, here it goes. Maybe we'll have a chance though. Because nobody outside of Florida in our local community was really getting Grundig except for, maybe the Seattle people who latched onto it. But it was cool. But yeah, I listened to so many different types of music. I was an alternative guy when I was young. I'd listen to The Cure was a big deal for me, Psychedelic Furs, bands like that. I definitely had some metal roots as well, and I liked metal bands, but I gravitated more towards the artsier stuff.
You feel like you're like a Cure, like a metal band of the Cure, like it's got that same like a mixture of it. To me, you don't sound like the Cure. It feels like you're like melancholy rock, it's sad, feel good, it's a storm, but you have a hot cup of coffee or some comfort food, like it's a nightmare around you, but just like it's this warm, hot moment, like right in the song with you, like a lyric or a chorus or a verse,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what, when I was younger, I gravitated towards. I started playing piano. My mom had bought a stand-up piano, and when she was younger, she used to watch soap operas all the time. Now she doesn't, but she used to when I was a kid. And soap operas always had the most beautiful piano music at the beginning of the shows. And I just started learning how to play piano off of those shows every day. To where people would come over my mom and be like, playing the Days of Our Lives, things like that, and I'd do it. But I always gravitated towards slow, sad songs when I was a kid. Barry Manilow, the Bee Gees before they were disco, their whole thing was just tragic songs.
Tragedy.
Yeah, and I've always gravitated towards that stuff, even with the metal bands that came in. I always like there was always the bangers, but then I like the slow. The Save All Your Loves, those kind of songs, all the Journey type slow songs. So I've always been that kind of guy, and I can definitely, I definitely write heavier songs, but I feel like I have to write the sad songs.
It also feels like you're actually getting not necessarily better, but your melodies are getting, they're very subliminal in the songs. It's very catchy, for being like a heavier, slower, darker music. It's very catchy,
Yeah, the music always tells me what to write. Like I'll sit down and start playing piano or guitar, and the melody immediately comes to me as the song's being formed. If that doesn't happen, I usually throw it away because I go, no, that's not good enough. That's
really
tragic. Yeah, I won't entertain.
Is that how you write your songs? As you sit down and you start playing around with an instrument, or noodling it or whatever, and then that's how it comes?
Yeah, I'll start noodling around, just messing around. Normally it's pretty style music, which we can transpose into heavier stuff if we want it to be a heavier song. So that happens, and all, the melody comes immediately with that. And then the lyrics, sometimes lyrics as well as a melody. Like sometimes the lyrics will just flow out. I'll freestyle and it just works.
Usually they have a riff, or they're like, oh, I got a song lyric or I got a melody, and they write it down.
Yeah.
And they go from there. But
yeah. Well, when I was very young, I would sit down with a lyric book and I would just write lyrics all day, because I used to write all these grandiose type stories back in high school. And I would have a lyric book and I would do that. So when we were playing, if the band had any kind of music that they had created, I would just fit it in there and make it work. And that was cool too. But then later on, it seemed to mean more to me when the melody and the lyrics come from what the music's telling me to say, or to, the way to create the melody with it. And that seems to impact more. It definitely impacts me more when I'm writing it, because I feel it more. And if I can feel it, it seems to translate to Cold Army and people.
So with the new album you have right now, you're promoting that one. Was that finished with COVID? It came out in 2019, right? So it was written during COVID or finishing up? Was there like a delay because of COVID?
That was a tough one. We had written, I had Nick and Lindsay come out to California, where I was staying at the time, and they lived with me in my house for months. And basically I would sit in a room and create music, and then they would come in and, add everything to it to make it a full song. And we had went out to Phoenix to do the drums for that because I go, we need to go to a studio. We need to have the drum sounds from a studio.
Thank you. You have to go to the studio for drums. People always do that. You need a studio for drums.
You do, and you need a good sounding room that makes the drums. The drums are super important, and people are doing it in their house now and stuff like that, which is okay, but it doesn't have that impact with the hits, and it's a vibe. It's a whole vibe, and Cold. That's what Cold is. We're a vibe. Like I think Nick and Lindsay had to get acclimated to the way I created music because I just go off that. It's all vibe. Like if it doesn't, like some days we just wouldn't do anything. I'd be like, no, not feeling it. And so,
it was so awkward if they were at your house to work on something. You're like, nope, not today.
Yeah, and it sucked. I mean, because they hadn't made a record with me before. The old members of the band had grown up with me, so they were more used to the way things were. However, it all came out. So we went to Phoenix, did the drums, brought the record back to my house, started doing the guitars and creating the songs. And then I don't know what, something happened one day. I always drive down in the South and down in Florida, I always drive down 81A. It's along the ocean to write lyrics. And I feel like I need to be near the ocean to write lyrics. Just because I grew up on the beach, it makes me feel comfortable. So when I was in California, we were about 20 minutes away from the ocean. So I would take off to San Diego and just sit at La Jolla Beach, which is one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, I would say. So I'm sitting down there, and all of a sudden I'm listening to what we had created, the lyrics that I had written, and I go, "This isn't it." I go, I can't put this out. And it was good, but it wasn't as emotional as I wanted it to be. Didn't have that thing that I always need Cold albums to have. So I kind of called them up, and while I was on my way back home to them, and I was like, I got to redo it all. I have to redo all the lyrics. I'm going to come up with all the harmonies. They're probably going to be different songs. Like we even took some of the songs and slowed them up. Like I remember Better Human was at a higher tempo. So we had to drop the drum tempo down to create what that song is. We had the piano. It was into an entirely different song, but it was necessary. And once that happens, and I felt comfortable, then they got it. They felt comfortable, and it was a better record than what we had initially.
That's a really pretty song. Your vision when you're writing it, it feels like sometimes you're like, it could be almost like not always all for teenagers, but for a lot of people like dealing with a lot of problems. Like you're watching from the outside, you're offering commentary, and then something uplifting to them too at the same time, without speaking down or lecturing. It's like, hey, I'm here. I see this. Here's a thought. Maybe this will help you.
Yeah, I think I use my own life experiences to that because I've had a lot of crazy things happen to me through my life, and it just seems to I seem to be the person that those things gravitate towards, and many people have that in their life. So it's not just me. So a lot of people go through a lot of stuff, and the way I deal with it is to write a song. I write a song that helps me, and that translates to them because it's real. It's real stuff. I'm not making it up. It's like everything I write about it's real tragic stuff that just happens. And I remember seeing a guy do a critique on a record, two dudes, and they were talking about, oh, here comes Scooter Ward with his mopey shit again, and he's doing his work. And I just go, I don't know, man. What do you listen to? Because I'm writing what is real to me. So I think that's what an artist should do. If my life got better one day, maybe I would write other things. But for now,
maybe not.
Maybe not. And I just want to write what I feel I need to write. I don't write songs for anyone else, but Cold, and then it ends up working for Cold Army and new fans and stuff.
It's a unique sound you have.
Yeah, we see bands come out sometimes, and the honesty in the lyrics and in the music and in just the vibe of it and the way you are to people being an honest person to them and being honest through your songs is what translates to people, you know? I always tell people, there were young writers that come up to me all the time and they ask, they go, you know, do you have any advice on writing? I'm at a standstill, I'm at a writer's block, I don't know what to do. I said, well, first of all, you have to write every day, you know, that just to keep that muscle going, the writing muscle going in your head. You have to do something like that. Not every day, every few days, but at least work that muscle a little bit. Second of all, when you're writing down lyrics, write down the things that you think that you shouldn't write down, where you go, I don't know if that might be too personal. I don't know if I want people knowing that. That's what you write down. You write down those lyrics because that's what everybody wants. That's when you open up yourself. And that's how it connects with people.
Very exposed, very exposed.
Yeah.
What's neat is you guys, I say neat, it's a weird word to use, but like the grunge time came in, but what happens is there's a lot of bands because there's a lot of alternative bands, different style, non-Seattle bands came in. And they pulled a lot of other bands that would have kind of been misfits everywhere. Because you guys don't sound grungy to me. You guys have kind of gone past it, but because of the movement, it pulled you in because it was alternative. You know what I mean? And it has some sadness to it that kind of fit with the mood, but it's allowed you to carry on when grunge kind of fell off. You're still the same band, you know?
Yes, for sure.
And I know because the music industry kind of went crazy for many years. And I think a lot of bands in the past couple of years that are still around now have recovered and got their footing and are on there like, you know, this is it. This is the victory lap where you know this is your gig. You've survived all the turmoil. You have a band fan base. You have a niche to build off of, and it's strong no matter what happens at this point.
Yeah, no, I feel that's where we're at. You know, just being back on tour. I know when we first went out after we released the Things We Can't Stop, just having the Cold Army come back and just fully be there for us after all those years. It was a comfortable feeling. And I was like, yeah, it's still going. You know, people still want to hear us, so we're going to continue playing. That's what we do. And it was nice. We did a tour before this past one that we just recently got off of, and it was at the end of COVID. It was, well, not at the end of it, but when they had the vaccines out and things seemed to be picking up a little bit. However, there were still a lot of clubs that were doing, you know, the mask mandates and things like that, which was necessary at the time. However, people were scared. People were scared to come out and have a good time. And this past tour that we did, which we started in end of April, beginning of April, just worked out great. Everybody was ready to come out and have a good time again, be outside. It was nice.
Now, has touring changed for you over the years? Like for bands you tour with, like, you know, like at a certain point, it's like, oh, you were a grunge band, so they always try to see with grunge bands. But as time's gone on, are you playing with different types of bands? Are you encouraging your management to be like, no, I want to play with somebody totally different. I want to play with a banjo band. You know what I'm saying? I want to play with something totally that I'm us, and I want something different.
Yeah, we don't actually have management anymore. We kind of do all the management ourselves. We do pretty much everything ourselves now. Not dissing managers, man. It's just, you know.
A lot of bands don't do it anymore. A lot of bands that have survived have one guy in the band that kind of handles it.
For so long, we're used to all the business aspects of touring and everything. So we can handle it on our own. So we just do that. As far as the bands that we bring out, I saw a band named University Drive on Instagram. I think they were linked up. They live in the Wilkes-Barre area, where Nick and most of my band lives at now. We have Nick, Tony, and Johnny. They all live in that area. All our crew's from that area. So I saw a band named University Drive, and as I was saying, I'm an indie fan, so that sounded like an indie band. I started listening to the band, and Ed Kuzo, he's the main guy in that band, and the main writer for the record Clear. He wrote a record that was basically his mom had passed away, and he created this record which deals with death and depression, and there's all these beautiful songs and the interludes. You hear voices talking about dealing with depression and going through things, and it just hit me so hard. And I was like, there's no way these guys are going to want to tour with Cold. It's definitely, they're a rock band, but way more indie than what we normally would bring out. But I loved them. So we hit them up, asked them to play, and turns out half the guys in the band were Cold fans. They grew up on Cold songs. So yeah, it all worked out. And we had brought them out on the 2019 tour, a few shows on the previous tour, and then this whole tour, they were main support for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're dope. If you guys haven't checked out University Drive, check them out.
I will definitely do it. Check them out. So where are you at with the whole tour now? Because as things are opening up, you're already been touring and stuff, and like the record, are you singles? Like where are we at in the machine here?
Right now, well, the thing with the album cycle, of course, there's
it's really weird right now.
Yeah, well, you get 15 months basically on a normal album cycle. So when 2019 happened, the record had just came out, I think in November. We did a tour to support it. We only did 7 weeks. And then the goal was to tour on that and promote it for the next year and a half. Right. So March of 2020, we were slated to go out on tour. We were going to do like a storytellers type thing. And then I remember me and Nick were on the phone. We saw something come up with the basketball, NBA canceling all their things because of COVID. And oh shit, this is about to go down. So yeah, we had to cancel the tour within a week's time of us going out. And then we were down for a couple of years. So it was tough. But in turn, that killed the record, right? Because you can't really promote it. The label's definitely not going to do anything with a record that's 2 years out now. So it was what it was. However, man, we started just focusing on touring and getting the Cold Army back and letting people know that we were back out.
So the guys are like, yeah, we want to hear it live. We're not worried with the record companies.
Right.
That album was really good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like kind of quietly sit in the corner.
No, it's still a good record.
It's a shame.
I think all of the records, it's an extension of a cool catalog that we created throughout our life. And that's how we kind of look at it. There's some great songs on there that fit well with what we do on stage, all the emotional things. So what
was the single off that one? Was it Shine? Was it the single?
Shine wasn't the single. Shine, I wanted Shine to be the single. I thought that maybe should have been the single, but
I thought that's why I think it was. To me, I thought it was.
Yeah, they had the record company, of course, wanted to go with something more old school, Cold sounding, and they went with "Without You," which was a song that we had written back during Year of the Spider-ish kind of days, and I just brought it back and thrown it on the record. And I'm never a fan of that. I'm never a fan of having to put my song. I always know what songs I like, and I always know. I feel like I know the Cold Army the best, right? Because I'm there with them, and they're family to me, and I know these people. So I feel like when I choose a song off a record, that I'm doing it for them and for ourselves. So I really hate when you have to give it to a bunch of business people and let them do a focus group and do that whole thing. So we're kind of over all that stuff. We're like, we don't care about it. We don't care about any of that anymore.
But to me, it's important though when I hear them come out. You know what I mean? I'm like, Shine should have been the first song that I should have done off the album, because that's an alert to the audience. Like, hey, we're here, something a little bit different, but it's very old school also. And you want to show you're out, but you're strong, but you're still growing, but you haven't changed at the same time. And that song has the perfect ingredients of both. It's cold, but it's a little bit different.
It's got a good balance of everything, and that's what I felt too. So
and radio friendly too. That melody and the times, the emotions.
Yeah, it actually hit up some of my program director buddies and DJs across the country, and they're like, "It's got to be Shine." And then I was like, "Well, of course they're not going to put that out." So and they won't listen to the artist. So let them do what they do, and we're just going to continue.
That is funny. So now you're stuck. So you're touring and tour probably throughout the summer, right? Are you back and forth?
No, well, we're off for the summer, and we are slated to tour in the fall. We're still working little things out, but we definitely have some cool shows coming up in the fall. We're doing the Blue Ridge Mountain Festival. We have the Metal Fest in Florida. I'm doing a benefit show for my friend in New Orleans in September-ish time. So we're trying to build a tour around that right now. So, but we definitely have some shows coming up.
Very good. Last thing I want to hit you up for is I like to talk guitars sometimes. Let's talk guitars. What do you use? You SG guy?
I used to play SGs all the time, man. That was my go-to. I don't know if it was for me being an AC/DC fan when I was a kid, just watching Angus Young. It was just a cool guitar. And I like a lighter guitar. I'm not really a heavy guitar guy. I don't like the Les Pauls. I like something that's not as weighty on you, that still has a dark tone. So I was heavily into SGs for years. I was sponsored by Gibson for years. And then, you know, later on in my life, I've just kind of changed it up. Now I'm all Telecaster guy. I like Fender Telecasters. That's basically all of it. Yeah. You know, so many cool things and different effects now, you know, with the Axe effects thing that we've been using. Can make the guitar sound like anything you want. So it's all good.
That's interesting. I know that's one instrument I thought you were playing guitar. It would be a Tele, making some of the sounds for Cole. That's really cool. It's different. I didn't.
Yeah, Telly still gets some dope sounds on there. You know, it's just, and we fill it up. I mean, Nick and Lindsay and Johnny right now are playing Diamond guitars. Diamond sponsored them, I think, on the 2019 tour that we did. I'm not really sure what's going on with the company right now, but they seem to like the way this guitar is played and decided to, you know, take them on. But yeah, I'm a Fender guy, man, for sure.
Awesome. So I want to thank you, man. I just wanted a little catch up with you and touch base with you.
Dude,
thank you for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Well, I love you guys. You guys are great, and I love the music. And you guys are very individual. You have your own sound, which is great.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm kind of proud of that, man. After all the years, we still try to not only have our own sound always relevant in the songs and on the records, but you know, we always change it up a little bit. I don't think you could ever say that one Cold record sounds like another Cold record.
No.
You know, so
except for some sad lyrics on them.
Yeah, well, except for that, you definitely know you're going to get a few songs that are probably going to make you cry a little bit.
And tear jerkers.
That's
all right, man. I want to thank you. I'll put the links for the show for all your sites and everything, and have them check you guys out. All right.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.